Hi, I'm Tim Wood Powell from the Knowledge Agency. I'm here with a short video about my latest book, The Value of Knowledge. In this time, we'll look at the purpose of knowledge. If you're running into somebody from your company, from the top levels of your company, how would you describe what you do? What is the purpose of the work that you do? And there are 5 different ways we'll explore in this video of how to explain that question. So take a look. It takes about 10 minutes, and enjoy and learn and have fun. Good morning, and welcome to First Look, The Value of Knowledge. My name's Tim Wood Powell. I'm president of the Knowledge Agency. And in this segment, we'll be talking about the purpose of knowledge. What are we all doing here? As I mentioned in my earlier video, in the book, we take a look at 7 different lenses on value. Each chapter is a different lens on value. In this one, we'll talk sort of from the top down, from the enterprise, knowledge, and mission. Things that board level people, executive level people would be most interested in, and things that deal with the purpose and mission of the enterprise. The mission of KM is to provide actionable data, information, knowledge, and or intelligence to support organizational competitiveness. That's my take on the big picture, and we'll delve in a little bit of ways to express that. What is the purpose of knowledge? What are we doing here? We'll look at 5 different ways. One we call the enterprise nervous system. One we call gatekeepers to the epistemic world. One we call risk management and mitigation. Core value questions and enterprise valuation. Now let's start with the idea that the enterprise has a bunch of different functions that are typically boundary-spanning functions that we call together the knowledge community. These could include functions like the corporate library, competitive intelligence, analyst relations, investor relations, even customer support, IT, market research, R&D, sales, and other functions that serve to bring information and knowledge into the organization and bring that knowledge in front of decision makers to make a decision. This is what ideally we call a knowledge community, and in some cases it is a value-added network. But in too many other cases, because these different areas report differently in the organization and they operate differently with different kinds of incentives and metrics, sometimes these become fiefdoms. They become separate silos, and in fact, in advanced cases, they become hardened silos, so they don't really communicate with each other. But ideally, this is a community of different functions. Together, it serves as the enterprise nervous system, the eyes and ears and brain power, if you will, of the organization. Enterprise nervous system is a metaphor that's been used for a long time by companies like IBM, and it's a pretty good metaphor for what knowledge does. Another way to look at this issue is gatekeepers to the epistemic world. Well, what does that mean? We're going to talk about maps, models, and metrics. In the book, I describe the phenomenal world, the world of people, places, and things, which in everyday language we call the real world. As those of us in the knowledge field know, there is also something called the symbolic world. Data, information, knowledge, and intelligence, what we call in the book the epistemic world, the world of symbols and data. For example, it's the difference between the territory and the map. The map is not the territory, but a map of Greenland is a very important piece of information about the actual territory of the continent of Greenland, which is the real world phenomenon. So, in effect, what we in the information and knowledge business do, and this is us here, the knowledge people, we are in effect building a symbolic world that represents the real world of our decision makers in our enterprise. We're building maps, we're building models, and which are moving representations, maps being static representations, and we're creating metrics that describe the real world for our decision makers. In effect, they have in a small box, the real world that they're looking at. So our job is really to be the creators and curators of this map and model and series of metrics. And we also act as gatekeepers. We bring the people in our organization and make them aware of this and make them aware of how to use it and access it for their own business or enterprise goals. A third way to look at the value of knowledge is the risk management and mitigation aspect. There's something that in decision theory we call uncertainty, which is just we don't know. And there's something called risk, which is what insurance actuaries, for example, do. They take uncertainty and they convert it into risk, which is a statistical probability about certain uncertainties. And it gives you the ability to make informed decisions about the unknown. Businesses are always, and NGOs as well, are always making risk-based decisions. They're always betting, in effect, against the future that is unknown and unknowable. The knowledge function gives a picture of what that risk is. In effect, what we have is risk is really a two-sided function. There's downside risk that everyday terminology would call a threat, and upside risk, which everyday terminology calls an opportunity. We want to clearly minimize the threats and maximize the opportunities, and knowledge can do that and does that. In fact, the knowledge function moves the whole curve to the right-hand side, away from the threat side and toward the opportunity side, creating great value for the enterprise in doing that. Now, we can also look to our users. What user questions does knowledge answer? In every case that I've been involved in my career with knowledge services, they're often most successful when they're boiled down to a work product. Here's a knowledge-based work product that we can talk about, that we can sell or purvey or offer to our users. And in each case, there's a core question that the user has answered. For example, in the field of assurance, where I worked for about 10 years, basically the core question we're answering is, are we on the right track, financially or otherwise? Likewise, in the field of benchmarking, where I have a lot of experience as well, the question being asked by management is, how do we measure up against our peers and against other companies? In the early warning work product, the question that is being asked and that we answer as knowledge people is, what surprises do we want to avoid, and how do we avoid those surprises? The other side of avoiding surprises is opportunities identification, which involves the question, are we leaving money on the table? Best known methods, also known as best practices, basically answers the question, has this been tried before? Let's avoid reinventing the wheel. Due diligence answers the question, is this investment a good deal? And fiduciary stewardship answers the question, what is best for our stakeholders? In every case, knowledge is answering a specific business user question, usually an enterprise customer. And last but not least, knowledge is important in the valuation question of enterprise value. If you're selling your company or even buying another company, it's important to know that knowledge, even though it's invisible, as we talked about in the earlier video, it's very big, it's very huge. In fact, knowledge capital averages about 44% of enterprise value. Looking across industries, it varies within industries, but that's the average value. It's very large. However, most of this value is not recognized in financial statements provided by GAAP and IFRS. The current financial statements used in much of the world only show the tip of the iceberg and not really the very large iceberg itself. This results in major distortions in valuations and even in measured performances. In classifying knowledge as an expense, which GAAP and IFRS basically do, rather than as an investment, has the effect of diminishing the value of knowledge and of the practice of knowledge, and even more importantly of the knowledge workers, the professionals and practitioners that work within the field of knowledge. So the result is to limit the opportunities for increasing the value of knowledge. We can maximize those opportunities for increasing the value of knowledge by creating some awareness of what that value proposition for knowledge is. So we've talked about 5 different ways that we provide purpose. If we were talking to the chairperson of our organization, we could say, well, we're the enterprise nervous system for the organization. We have sensors and we see things and we bring them in and analyze them. the way your brain does and your eyes do. We're the gatekeepers, we're the curators of the epistemic world. We create models of the world, and we understand how those models work, and we can show you how to access those models. We provide risk management and risk mitigation. If you are making bets about the future, about the unknown, we can help turn those into manageable risk. We answer core value questions. And finally, we provide another way of looking at enterprise valuation in addition to what you see on the GAAP and IFRS financial statements. These are just a few of the ideas in the book on how to increase the value of knowledge. I hope you'll get a copy of the book or have your organization do so. But in the meantime, you can download a table of contents from the website shown on the page. You can download an introduction from Amazon, and there are a lot of articles on our blog site, knowledgevaluechain.com. We'll be announcing webinars and also videos like the one here. There's going to be a whole series of videos we're putting out. The Knowledge Agency offers related services and products. So we have something called Knowledge Empowered, which includes coaching, clinics, and consulting. There's a lot of information on the website about that. We also offer the earlier book, The Knowledge Value Chain. I hope you got some good ideas from this video, and be sure to watch the first video in the series. I've got some good news to tell you about the book. The book has now been adopted by a major university as a required text in a required course. So as always, we appreciate your support and your comments and questions also below. We'll try to get back to you. Thank you very much. See you soon. Bye.